Hey guys, today I'm gonna be showing you the guy that will flip 34 rocks.
Outside in nature, there's tons of random objects like this rock, which when you flip them, you find life that you would have never known was there. This one in specific just had a massive ant colony, but in this video, I'll be flipping 100 objects to find all sorts of weird insects, lizards, and even deadly venomous creatures. And right now, I'm at the start of the trail, but the deeper I go, the cooler the animals get, with the coolest being in the desert portion. So I made my way over to object number 2, which I had a good feeling about, and underneath, there was actually something cool. Oh, second rock, there's something here. Check it out. It's a little rough-skinned newt, which if you didn't know are actually like pretty dangerous. Yeah, you heard that right. There's a toxic chemical sitting on the skin of this. And if you touch it and then touch your eyes or mouth, you could get poisoned. Alright, sorry for disturbing you. Let me leave you now. Right next to the newt, I found object number 3, which had nothing underneath. Most of the objects will have nothing, so from now on, I'm just gonna skip them. Thankfully though, my luck instantly came back because straight after I came across this. Where I just walked up to this big chunk of bark and I just saw something really weird. Even though I'm kind of an animal expert, I don't know what this is at all. I'm just gonna touch it with the stick. But I learned that it's actually called a Pacific banana slug, and apparently it's one of the biggest slugs in the world. They can get way bigger than this. Since this wood seemed promising, I kept looking around and flipped some leaves to find this little black and yellow millipede. The yellow spots on it tell you that it's poisonous if eaten, so I didn't want to mess with it too much, and I kept exploring to find the next object. Behind object number 6 was a bunch of ants crawling up the side of a hill in a line formation. It's nothing crazy. We're bound to find lots of ants out here, but I actually have something to show these guys. You see, with me, I actually have the backpack, which inside I've packed a ton of random gadgets in order to interact with some of the wild animals out here and show off their cool abilities. And of course I had something packed for these ants. A half-eaten orange, which I went and took a piece off of and put in the middle of the ant line. As you probably know, ants like this love sugar, and that was demonstrated because it only took until 3 minutes later when I saw that way more ants started to gather around the orange, and they were all putting their little mouths up to it. They were all trying to suck the juice out of it, and then once they were full, they would walk back to the colony and feed some of it to the queen and some newly hatched ants. The next few objects I flipped had nothing, so I made a solid amount down the trail when it was time for object number 10, which when I flipped, I found a Jerusalem cricket, which is this really weird looking bug that's basically a mutation between a cricket and an alien. After the cricket went into the dirt to hide, I flipped some of the stuff nearby and found another millipede. This guy is also poisonous, which you can tell by its bright red coloration. And by this point, I had reached the first little stream of the trail, which I stopped and checked to see if there's any fish or anything. Yeah, I'm not really seeing any fish. The rivers like this usually do have tons of cool animals around them because of the moisture, so let's get to flipping. The first thing I did by the stream was flip this dirty old blanket someone had left behind, which surprisingly didn't have anything hiding under it, but for some reason there was this little leaf which had grown from the blanket. But the second thing I flipped near the stream had the first really cool thing of the journey.
Oh my gosh, wait, there's a scorpion right here. This is the first scorpion.
In specific, it was a small California forest scorpion, which was just sitting there with its stinger ready to strike. With the cooler animals like this, I'm gonna put them in this clear container and take out the backpack. As you know, I've prepared all the stuff in here so I can interact with some of the creatures. And for this guy, I've got some super worms, which yes, are literally just live worms I wanted to try and feed to the scorpion. I put one of them in front of him with some tweezers, and right away he went into defense mode with his stinger up in the air. He kept even grabbing it with his pinchers to basically give it a warning and tell it not to disturb him. Oh. Looks like he's trying to run away. I don't think he wants to be here anymore.
Let me let you loose. Sorry for disturbing you.
A few objects later, I flipped some more stuff and found a couple more insects, like another yellow and black millipede from earlier, another yellow and black millipede again, and another millipede. Yeah, 3 in a row. What the heck, bro? There is so many of these. I swear this forest is infested with millipedes or something. Anyways, I kept exploring and ended up finding this.
Oh shoot, look at this log in the light. It's covered in a ton of mushrooms.
Now, the mushrooms don't actually mean anything, but I figured it was a good omen, so I flipped it. Let's see if there's anything. Oh yes, right here, look. And holy, this snail is like massive. It's like the size of my fingers. Look at that. And based off of the colors of this, I think it's a Pacific sideband snail, which are pretty cool because they got red bodies, as you can kind of tell here. But anyways, I continued on down the forest trail. That's when I came across this piece of log, which under it I found another one of those rough-skinned newts. But after touching it lightly with a stick, I noticed it wasn't moving a lot, and also it looked really dried out. Thankfully, in the backpack I had prepared for this. As you can see, I've got a water bottle, which I think the newt is gonna like. And with this water, I literally just poured some of it onto the newt. These guys love moisture, and basically this will just rehydrate its skin.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to give you too much. I don't want to drown it or anything.
Now, as I continued on, I ended up finding the rarest thing yet. Under this rock, after I flipped it, I saw a little black thing run out from beneath, but I didn't really get to capture it on camera. So I followed the direction it went, and on top of the log, I found it. It's an ant, but not just any ant, it's a winged ant, which only happens during a couple days out of the year. What this means is it's a newly born queen, which ran away from its original colony, and they have these wings, of course, to allow them to fly away and find a new area to start their own colony, which she did. Oh, and she's off. Dang, that's actually so cool. I've never seen an ant fly before. Anyways, I kept walking and decided to flip this log.
Oh, yes. Finally, I've been looking for these. A decent-sized earthworm. Yeah, usually people wouldn't be excited about this, but as you know, for me, I have a backpack. And out of the top of it, this whole time, this little Barbie thing's been sticking out. And if you're wondering what it is, it's a Barbie fishing pole. Yeah, I think you can see where I'm going with this.
So I went and tied a hook to the end of the rod and traveled down the trail for about 10 minutes until I came across the second stream, which I've heard this one does have fish inside. So I put the worm on the princess rod and threw it in to try and catch a fish.
Okay, I don't really know how to do this, but I guess let me just throw the worm out. Oh, that was a bad cast. Throw the worm out.
And yeah, I basically just started fishing. Now, I was actually fishing for a little while with no luck at all. But the thing is, I kept seeing fish jump out of the water. Yeah, that right there, that's a fish. And it looks like they're eating flies that land on the water. At this point, I was super determined to catch a fish and the worm just wasn't cutting it. Now, thankfully, I actually did bring some artificial fly lures in the backpack. So I tied one of those onto the rod instead of the worm and recasted it out. Yeah, this is just kind of a random side quest, but thankfully it didn't take long until this happened.
Oh yes, I got a fish. Oh, I didn't even realize there was a fish on it.
Yeah, the fish was so small I didn't even feel it on the rod. But hey, it's a success in my book because I was actually able to catch a fish on this princess fishing rod.
All right, sorry buddy, let's get this hook out and there we go. Go back to nature, buddy. Bye-bye.
The first object I flipped after fishing actually had something really cool underneath. A bunch of little termites, and there was also an ant colony. Normally, these species are not friendly towards each other, and in fact, it kind of looked like the termites might have invaded the ant nest, because I saw that the ants were trying to take their eggs and run away with them. Eventually, because I had moved the log, all of the bugs had run underground through their little holes, and were probably having a massive war or something. Pretty cool. For the 35th object, I sort of inspected under and around this log and found this weird orange spiderweb looking thing inside of it. But orange spiderwebs are not really a thing that exists, so I think it's some sort of fungus or mold. I don't know the exact type though, so comment if you think you know the exact name. Under object number 40, at first I thought there was nothing, but after looking super closely, I actually saw a little salamander. And these guys are basically just like the little newts we've been finding, but smaller. And right next to that salamander, I found this burnt piece of wood, which when I flipped it, I saw another one of those exact same salamanders under it. I got super lucky that I saw both these guys because as you can see, they have specifically evolved over the years to have the exact same color and pattern as the floor so they don't get seen. By this point, I was getting pretty deep into the forest and was getting even closer to the desert where the super cool animals were located. And soon enough, I came across object 43. I didn't even need to flip this one because it was actually just a bottle. Oftentimes, animals can get trapped in trash like this, so I looked around by shining my flashlight in there, but thankfully there was nothing. So I kept the bottle to make sure nothing would. Under this rock here, just like with the salamander, I didn't see anything at first, but after taking a closer look, you can see there's a type of grasshopper right there. Grasshoppers have some of the best camouflage out of any animal, and this one in specific just looks like dead leaves and sticks, and basically just disappears when it walks near some of that. As I kept walking, I eventually came across this part of the forest, which seemed like a small forest fire had run through because everything was burnt. Okay, now while most people would probably think the burnt area is not a good area to check for animals, well, so far for me, under all the burnt pieces of wood I've flipped, I found cool stuff like a newt, and that's also where I found one of those salamanders. So I went and flipped a few of the burnt objects and didn't find much besides a few bugs, but right next to all the burnt stuff was this log, which I flipped, and underneath I found another one of those California forest scorpions. But this time there was actually something in its claws that it was eating. I wanted to see what it was eating, so I grabbed it with some tweezers, and yeah, he wasn't so happy about that because he grabbed it back and raised his stinger up in the sky. What the heck? This guy is so mad. I guess he doesn't want me stealing his food. Dang. Also, in the burnt area, I found this, which of course I had to check for animals inside of.
Hold on, this is not a rock I've seen before. What's in here? Oh, we got little spiders, worms, and what's under the object? Oh, there's just a ton of poop down there. It's kind of nasty, actually. That smells bad. I'm getting out there.
But jokes aside, the burnt place was easily the best place I had been so far, because under object 53, I found another queen ant just running around.
Oh shoot, look at this.
So I scooped it up into the clear container to get a better look at it, and as you can see, it kind of has these little scars on the thorax where the wings used to be. And because of how big the abdomen is, you can tell this queen is fertile and ready to start laying eggs. Now I actually did bring something in the backpack in case I was able to catch a queen ant without wings, and it's this little container. You see, what I did was fill it up with some moss and dirt and then put the queen ant inside of it. If you're a fan of the channel, you know I love simulating ant colonies at home and raising them from a single queen, so I'll be taking this ant home with me and starting a colony with it. Under object 55, which was also burnt, I found another scorpion.
Yo, another scorpion. I'm telling you, this burnt area is actually completely stacked with the coolest animals.
Now, even though I was finding a bunch of cool stuff in this burnt area, as you can see on the map, I was getting super close to the desert. And to be honest, I really wanted to get there, so I didn't flip a single more thing and got to the end of the forest trail where my car was parked. Quickly, I drove for about 20 minutes to the start of the desert habitat to continue the trail.
Well, here we go. I made it to the heart of the desert, basically. And right away, there's one thing I gotta do. I gotta, first of all, take out the backpack. And inside, I'm gonna pull out these.
Now, these are snake gaiters, and they're basically made out of a material that snakes can't bite through. So I went and put them on my legs just because honestly, I did not want to get bit by a rattlesnake out here. Anyways, I started to make my way down the desert trail, and it didn't take long until I found a rock that looked like it was good to flip. And I'm not kidding, instantly I found something interesting. As you can see, it's a desert scorpion, which has a more potent venom than those ones I was finding in the forest, and also they can get way bigger. In fact, there's a chance out in this desert we'll find some desert hairy scorpions, which are the largest in the United States. Anyways, I continued on the search for desert animals, and the next few rocks I flipped all had either tiny little beetles or some of these larger darkling beetles, which were actually pretty cool looking. As I continued on through the desert trail, I found this rock here, and underneath of it was this little hole. Inside, it looked like I had found another queen ant, and it looked like it had dug out this little burrow and was trying to start a colony. But unlike the queen ants I found earlier in this video, this one had already laid its eggs. You see, after queens lay their eggs, they can get stressed from stuff really easily, so I put the rock back over it so it could continue caring for them in peace. And under the next rock, I found an absolutely minuscule baby centipede. He didn't really like being in the sun though, and instantly dug underground. 2 rock flips later, I found another centipede, and this time it looked like it was a bit bigger, but it burrowed completely into the dirt. I wanted to show it off though, so of course I dug it out, and as you can see, they're extremely fast. But if we pause the video, you can actually see it has a slight green tint to it, which means it's a banded desert centipede, which actually have venomous bites, so I made sure to keep my hands away. I continued to flip some rocks, and after flipping rock 76, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something. Right here behind the bush, there was a little lizard that was super well camouflaged. And as you already know, lizards are pretty cool, so of course I prepared something in the backpack for this guy. It was a single cricket, so I carefully dropped him near the lizard without spooking it. And it was funny because his head instantly snapped towards the cricket, and I guess he has some pretty good predator instincts because yeah, he just ate that thing right away in one bite. You can even see the cricket's little head poking out of the mouth. Pretty brutal. The same thing happened 5 minutes later after flipping rock 78 because out of the corner of my eye, I saw an animal.
Wait, do you see that? That thing is so camouflaged. I think it's like a little bug.
And I was right, because you remember that super camouflaged dead leaf grasshopper from earlier? Well, this is the desert equivalent of that. And it was cool because when I got my hand a little too close, it jumped away. And when I followed it, you can see each time it jumps, it brings out these little orange wings, which it uses to go super fast. But yeah, with a pattern like this, I have no idea how I was able to see this. The next rock I flipped had a ton of ants under it. But if you look very closely, you can actually see they were all eating a dead lizard. I'm not sure how this lizard died, but it shows the brutal reality of the desert and how ants will take any food they can find laying around. Under rock 90, I found another one of those desert scorpions. Now this was a good sign because you see by this point, I was getting pretty deep into the trail and the sun was even starting to set. But scorpions like this have a super cool ability when it turns dark. So as it got darker and darker, I kept flipping rocks hoping to find another one of those scorpions. I got all the way to rock 97, under it was nothing, then rock 98, which again had nothing. I was starting to lose hope, but then on rock 99, this happened.
Oh, yes. I don't even know how I saw that, but look right there. That's a scorpion. His tail just moved.
Now, in order to show off the scorpion's special ability, I got out the backpack and grabbed out a special UV flashlight. Once I turned off my light, I turned on the UV light and boom, check it out.
Look at the scorpion. It glows in the dark, a bright neon green color.
The scorpion ended up running away, so I went to flip rock 100, and underneath there was nothing. But hey, I would definitely call this challenge a success because I found so many cool and unique animals.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I've never actually done a video outside.
Okay, guys, we're done. Make sure to like and subscribe, and peace out.